And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to CageZilla here in Manassas Park, Virginia. Next up here, we are going to get going with the regular fights, not the exhibition fights. So if you're at home at GoSports.com, make sure you're tuned in. Grab something to eat or drink, because the rest of the evening gets way more exciting as we move up through the weight classes, CD.
Yeah, absolutely. This first fight's definitely going to be interesting between Nazir, Naimi, and Stephonte Livingston. And going to see a big height disadvantage for Nazir. However, he's training with a lot of other fighters. He's going to be in a good gym with some good experience, so hopefully he'll be able to mitigate that.
All right, let's throw it up to Chris. We'll get this thing kicked off right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready for our next bout. Making his way to the cage and fighting out of the right corner, it's Nazeer Naimi.
Nazeer Naimi, Jay, did you get a chance to talk to him when you went into the back?
I know a little bit. He's from Sterling, Virginia. This is making his MMA debut. Love to see debuts, particularly here at CageZilla, because we see fights that look like guys with 6-8 fights and experience.
Right.
Cannot wait to see. His dream is Afghan Warriors. Can't wait to see what he brings into the cage. But like you mentioned, Charles, this is a height disadvantage. Styles make fights, and we're going to get to see what Stephonte Livingston can do with his 6'3". Against Nazir's 5'9".
And you know what's funny is we always count the tall guy as being the more at the advantage. And we've seen time and time again where the little guy comes in here and chops down the tree.
Absolutely. Lower center of gravity. We'll see if the fight goes to the ground.
Well, everything changes, but I think a lot of times, too, you have to learn to develop the skill of using your height advantage. It doesn't just happen automatically. You know, you get jammed up, you get close. It takes some time to really understand the range and keeping people at the end of your punches.
And his opponent, making his way to the cage and fighting out of the blue corner, it's Stephonte Livingston.
Stephonte Livingston, 6'3", 164. He's out of an independent gym. So I always kind of make fun of those guys, independent, like they got a heavy bag hanging in the garage and they're going to town in there. But you know what? When you get out here, you're making your MMA debut, you come out, and you want to fight in front of this crowd. It's not anything that you get at home. You can't do this in your living room, right? You can't push the couch out of the way like when you were a kid and line pillows up around in the living room and start beating up your friends. You got to get out here in the cage.
Well, it looks like it's actually independence MMA, which is definitely
what?
A big difference. Big difference if you look at the screen there. But
wait.
And it's also not his debut fight. So those are two errors on our side. But you know,
what?
Your second fight is such a big difference than your first. The time it takes to really, get those jitters out. Kind of like what you were saying. You can't recreate it. But when you go and you do it for the second time, those jitters, you're aware of them. You know what to expect, and you tend to adjust a lot better to them as you enter the cage.
All right. Well, it's independence and not his first fight. It was always fun when we get out here and do this, guys. It's always like on a roll. And did you get a chance to talk to him, Jay?
I did not, but I'm looking forward to, look at his composure. Look at both these guys. Could not be any more calm.
Yeah.
Just sort of like this is just another day at the office. And then,
Ladies and gentlemen, this next bout is scheduled for three-minute rounds in the CageZilla lightweight division. It is brought to you by Freedom Bail Bonds. Everybody loves freedom. Starting out, fighting out of the red corner, standing 5'9" and weighing in at 155 pounds, fighting out of Afghan Warriors, it's Nazeer Naimi!
Naimi, 165, 24 years of age, out of Sterling, Virginia.
And his opponent, fighting out of the blue corner, standing 6'3" and weighing in at 155 pounds, fighting out of Independence MMA, it's Stephonte Livingston!
And Livingston, 6'3", 164, fighting out of Independence MMA.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this bout is scheduled for three-minute rounds. CageZilla lightweight division at 155 pounds. Your referee is Michael Dolman.
Michael Dolman, the referee for this one, is scheduled for three-minute rounds. Jay didn't get a chance to go back there and talk to them, but Jay, like you said, it's fun to watch the new guys come in and not look really nervous. Like I can promise you I would need a bucket to vomit in if I was going up here to fight these guys.
And Kevin, so many great gyms up here that, iron sharpens iron. These guys are, they have harder days in training than they do when they finally get in the cage.
Some last-minute Vaseline being applied.
Excellent beards in the cage. Look at them all.
Long kick from Stephonte.
They're going for that planted leg. Long jab.
Corners, you need to have a seat.
Nazir just misses on that wild kick there to the, and got his leg up there pretty high at 6'3". You're trying to kick Livingston in the face. Oh, good left kick.
Stephonte ended up on top, and now he's able to get the top pressure, holding him in side control up against the cage. Trying to take the back, but now Nazir's actually got a head and arm choke, head and arm throw that he's trying to turn into a reversal.
Look at this action on the ground.
Yeah, and this is where the height doesn't matter. This is what we were talking about, chopping down the tree. You want to get this big guys down on the ground.
The height does not, sometimes the length does. You know, we'll see if Livingston can put those long limbs to work down here.
Now, Nazir's got a really good grip there, and he was able to tighten up into side control. Now he's riding high into more of a scarf hold.
Oh, you got to watch the eyes.
Watch the fingers here.
Yeah, you can't be poking the eyes there.
He's got a bit of a bulldog choke, actually, with a twist.
Yeah, a little bit. This is, oh, he's going to flip him over. He is really, I mean, Livingston is in a bad spot, and Nazir just needs to hang on here. This is something we just don't normally see from the fighters that have been fighting a little longer. Getting out of this now.
So what actually happened was it looked like Nazir's arm was tucked underneath his own body, so that it was creating that much more pressure for against Stephonte, but he wasn't able to move with it. It held him in place.
Livingston needed to do something different there than just throw light love taps to the rib cage of Nazir.
Well, Nazir's got to be careful of those elbows. He has hands clasped. Big takedown into side control. But Stephonte worked his way right back up.
Yeah, Livingston's still on top. I mean, when you get a chance to get on top like that, first you start to feel good about yourself. The confidence level goes through the roof now that you've got your opponent like where you want him.
And Charles, not a drop of sweat on either one of these two fighters. That will help them with these grips early, won't it?
Absolutely, and it's going to prevent you from sliding into those chokes. Right now, it would be good if Livingston could actually extend his legs out and get his hips more involved to create more pressure and a little bit more discomfort for Nazir, because you're not going to be able to get a whole lot done here just by putting the weight on the top of the neck.
Does Livingston want to stay on the ground? If I was Livingston, I might let him up.
Ooh, big elbow there. Well, I think this is what we were talking about earlier. It takes a little bit of time to develop your reach and develop the range, and he might not feel like he has that. So being in a top dominant position where Nazir can't hit him doesn't sound like a bad idea to me.
And those punches, while they're not huge, if there are a lot of them, if they're all in the same spot, ooh, that will start to hurt.
Yeah, and he's throwing a little bit. The force behind those rights and lefts now seem to be a little stronger than when he had just bad leverage before, when he was throwing those. Just, hey, I'm letting you know I'm here, I'm here. But now with that top, with this top that he has, being on top of this, seems to be in control for the rest of the round. I really thought Livingston was in trouble right off the bat.
Absolutely, and he might have been, but he did a great job adjusting. And I think he was able to steal that round with that top pressure.
Right. That's the end of round number one right there, as both fighters head back to see their seconds. I mean, at first I thought Nazir was going to be in total control of this. I thought that this was going to be over early. I thought Livingston put himself in a bad spot. But then Livingston rolls this around to where almost now it looks like he lost the round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're gonna jump to the replay here and see exactly a couple different things that happened. This is how the fight started. Big kick that landed, but lost his footing, and after that, the fight was largely on the ground.
Right, and we've seen that before, where fighters try to overextend and overreach to that, and then you get, and especially later in the evening, the mat gets a little bit wet. You can say that you're going out there and drying it off with the towel, but if you've never been out there in the cage, it's slippery anyways.
Very much so.
It's slippery anyway, so you really have to concentrate on good balance, staying centered to make sure that you don't lose your balance and end up in a bad spot like Nazir did.
And it's going to be interesting to see how he comes out in this second round and what adjustments he makes to prevent himself from getting underneath Livingston, because he was not able to get back up to the feet once he was put on the back.
Nazir Naimi fighting in the red corner with the red gloves. Stephonte Livingston. He's got the black gloves with the blue tape. They touch gloves right in the middle of the cage as we start round number two. Both fighters toe-to-toe, squaring up right on the CageZilla label.
Low hands from Nazir.
Very, very low. He's a little tired. He's breathing heavy.
The length, wild punch from Livingston.
Now Livingston's starting to throw him for real.
Right back where we were.
Nazir's in on the leg, but he's going to have to lift and drive, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to do that.
Livingston, a taller fighter, going to be tough to pick him back up like that. If Livingston or Nazir wanted to get Livingston back up, he probably should have just pulled out and started again.
Correct. Well, at this point, he might want to tuck the leg in and walk around, because he already actually has Livingston close. If Livingston starts to extend his hips and push the head down, it's going to be much more difficult for Nazir to hold on to that leg. But he's not going to be able to just drive through with the leverage he needs.
Both fighters on the ground here in round number two. Nazir in the red gloves on the ground.
Stephonte definitely getting the better of doing the damage. Positionally, Nazir's done some pretty interesting things. Got that takedown early, but after that, my goodness, he's taken a fair number of shots down there.
And Nazir, you're right, came out hands low, right? But Livingston hands wide open. So it was like, all right, who wants to get knocked out first in this fight? It was like, sign up.
Well, as they've worked their way back to the feet, Nazir lands a big overhand left. But he looks pretty
Stephonte
tired.
Livingston adjusts his shorts and could not look any more cool, calm, and collected.
Right, and both fighters really breathing hard through their mouths right now. This is one of the things that we notice as we see these younger fighters that haven't seen this before. And if you're at home and you think, oh, I got to do something for 3 minutes, go outside and run on a treadmill as hard as you can for 3 minutes.
Well, with the adrenaline and everything that they're dealing with now in their first fight or second fight, it's a lot. Nazir was able to get down, but he just wasn't quite quick enough on the jump.
And that right kick from Nazir got over Stephonte's guard that time. Didn't land with any sort of authority.
Nazir
but
has
it's
a
in
head
the
and arm
neighborhood.
choke. He has a head and arm choke. I don't know if Livingston is going to be able to get out of this, but it doesn't look like the pressure is going to be enough to force the tap. You could see the distance between the shoulder right here, Livingston's shoulder, and Nazir's chest. You can see there's a little bit too much space there for that to really be too tight enough.
And this is something I had never seen where he's covering his mouth.
Oh, he hurt himself there, though. His head just went straight into the
you got to
mat.
be careful with those slams because you can end up slamming yourself deeper into that hold, which I think Livingston may have done right there.
And he has his hand over Nazir's mouth. I don't think I've ever seen anybody cover up somebody's mouth before.
Listen, it's fair game. I mean, you just put that palm across the bottom of the nose and the mouth, and you really will hinder someone's breathing. At the least, they're going to have to address it. But
both fighters exhausted.
Yeah, it looks like that actually hurt Livingston pretty good. He's taking a minute to recover here.
Yeah. Yeah, the eyes are starting to water. Livingston may have concussed himself on that. Now we just got to get some rest, and we'll see. But both fighters slow to get up, get over to their seconds.
How are you scoring that round, fellas?
Oh, my gosh. I would have to say Nazir, maybe.
Well, he was certainly the closest to finishing it. With that head and arm choke, he was a couple adjustments away from the pressure being tight enough. These are tough fights to judge because there's a lot going on. There's not a lot of pressure being implemented in terms of the stability of the positions. So I would say it very well could be 1-1 with Livingston winning the first and Nazir winning the second, but I think it's anybody's game at this point. Jay?
Naimi seconds. What are you telling Naimi right here?
Well, you got to tell him that he's got to keep his hands up and he's got to start punching his way into things. You know, when he gets a position, he can't overcommit. Right? He just wasted a lot of energy right there on that choke. And you'll see here, he was in bad positions quite often, but when he was able to get to the feet, he was able to land some punches, and when there was a transition happen, he could almost, there was that big slam, seal in a submission. But right here, you're going to see the head just go right into the mat. Boom. I mean, that was the first thing to make contact, and I can tell you guys, that hurts. That hurts.
Yeah, right on the top of the crown of the head. And I'm going to tell you, there's something that I noticed here that I haven't seen before. I don't know if Doman's doing it. They put 2 seconds in the cage now? There was 2 guys from both corners in there. Is that something different?
You know what? Doman didn't address it. I don't think that's a new rule, but I couldn't tell you. We might have to defer to the Virginia State Athletic Commission.
Nevada. Here in the big city of Manassas, Nevada. Round number 3, Nazir fighting Naimi fighting in the red gloves. Stephonte Livingston got the black gloves with the blue tape as both fighters stand toe-to-toe right on the CageZilla logo.
And they're both digging deep to find something to throw.
Both tired, hands really low for both fighters, down around their waist for Naimi. And we get our hands, if you're going to let me rest, I'll rest.
Well, you got to engage. You know, you got to engage. If you know the other person's tired, that's got to be big shot landed there.
And this is going to give Livingston a chance to just work some of that ground and pound. It's not a great position, but if you're hitting him and he's not hitting you back, that's an advantage.
You definitely don't want to leave to the card, but he could probably rest right here, maybe come back with 30 seconds of fight after this, because I think Naimi got stunned with that. That look of timber, that look of, hey, I don't know where I'm at. I just got hit coming across the middle catching a football.
Well, in his credit, he did fall into a single leg, but, I mean, he's got to try to transition to a double and then knee walk through. I mean, you got to see a little bit more engagement. But Doman might stand them up here.
Yeah, and that's probably a good play if you want to see a fight and watch a fight. These 2 guys are just laying on each other. They're both exhausted. We're in the 3rd round. 3 minutes. This fight is scheduled for 3 3-minute rounds. Both fighters standing toe-to-toe, breathing heavy, mouths open, and we see this all the time with guys with their mouthpiece. Right back to the same position.
Now, This time, actually, well, Nazir almost had it. He almost actually had the arms across and was able to push through, but when you're so exhausted, it's hard to implement your game plan.
Yeah, it goes out the window. And, you know, Kevin, you've been covering this sport for, what, 10 years?
Oh, my gosh. I was going to tell you 15, but I like 10 better.
Well, yeah, makes you look more handsome. But
It does. I had hair when I started.
the difference in debut fighters between now and when you and I were both years ago covering this sport. Yeah, cardio aside, because you know someone has to push your cardio. Night and day.
It was almost like a bar fight. It was a melee.
Tough man contest.
Yes, exactly what it was.
Now we're watching martial artists who are learning the game.
Yeah, and these guys are before they step into the cages now, they actually get some coaching.
Yes.
Before it was like, hey, I saw this on television, I can whoop you. Oh, just missed with that big right. I thought Naimi walked into it.
And that was a good level change late in this fight for Nazir.
But you know, he did a good job using the kick to get in on the leg. It's just I don't think he quite knows how to finish the position from here. What he needs to do to get the takedown.
Yep, and once again making me glad I'm not a judge.
Absolutely. That's the end of round number 3, the end of the fight. Now Chris will go up. He'll grab some of the cards from these judges. You know, not a lot of action. You know, normally we like to start the fights off with a lot of action and see how things are going. You never know with amateurs what's going to happen. Sometimes, most of the time, we'll see guys come out throwing punches and kicks. Now, this is in the first round, and he loses some footing, Naimi does. And Livingston tries to capitalize a little bit on this. And as we go through the fight, they just start to get exhausted, CD. They're just not ever back to where they were in the first 30 seconds.
Well, nothing tires you out like hard wrestling does. And, you know, for a lot of the first and the beginning of the second round, all these guys were doing was wrestling. You know?
And there's the head blow right there when they're in this wrestling mode, trying to get picked up, but it didn't help Livingston.
Right, so Livingston spent a lot of effort trying to slam his opponent. Nazir spent a lot of effort holding on to that choke, and he just wasn't able to get it done, and that's going to use up a lot of energy. That's going to tire you out.
Yeah. And isn't that one of the things that you have to get experience in? When do I let this choke go? Because I'm not going to get it.
Right.
Right.
And then we saw the right that knocked down Naimi, and then he goes up, and then he just misses with the big right hand. So there were a couple of spots, and when he goes back and watches this film of himself, they're going to be like, all right, and what they should do is turn up the volume and listen to Charles. They shouldn't just watch the damn fight, you know what I'm saying? So you need to go and you need to study this. This is not something you just go out there and you're like, you know what, I came out and I fought and now I'm good, I don't need to do anything else. This is a studied thing. The smarter fighter's going to come out the winner.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where you go, you look back, you find your areas for improvement, and if this is something you want to do, you address some of the issues.
And it'll be fun to see both these guys at CageZilla 55, 56,
Absolutely.
see where they've gone.
All right, let's throw it up to Chris Fuller. We'll get the call.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Michael Goldman has called a stop to the I'm sorry. We go to the judges' scorecard for a decision. Sorry about that.
First day for Chris.
All 3 judges scored about 30-27 in favor of your winner by unanimous decision. Out of the blue corner, Stephonte Livingston.
So Stephonte Livingston comes away a big winner tonight. Of course, Naimi in his first debut here at CageZilla will come back, I'm sure. So, you know, when we start to see him, just like you said, Jay, later on CageZilla's, things will work out better for him. All right, when we come back, more fights to come, plus some big fights coming up from Edwin Francois and Alan Hargrove. Don't anybody go anywhere. Watching live on GoSports.com, it's CageZilla here in Manassas.